In the history of royal courts, there is one absolute rule: the jester must laugh. He is the distraction, the living toy, the creature designed to keep the silence at bay. But the painting you are looking at right now breaks that rule in the most violent way possible. Here, in a palace overflowing with wealth, power, and music, the only person intelligent enough to realize that the seeds of destruction are being sown is the one man paid to be a fool. While the kings and queens dance in the next room, oblivious to the catastrophe approaching their gates, the jester sits alone in the dark, crushed by a truth too heavy to bear. This is not a portrait of a comedian, it is the portrait of a conscience, screaming in silence. To understand the suffocating atmosphere of this work, we must travel to the mind of its creator, the Polish master Jan Matejko. Painted in 1862, this canvas depicts a historical tragedy from the year 1514, the loss of the crucial fortress of Smolensk to the Russian armies. But do not be deceived by the date. Matejko was a man obsessed with the tragic fate of his own nation, Poland, which in his time had been erased from the map. He poured all his patriotic grief into this figure, bending history to serve his narrative. In fact, if you look closely at the jester's face, you are not seeing a historical actor. You are seeing Matejko himself. He gave the jester his own tortured features, casting himself as the lonely truth-teller in a nation of ignorant revelers, the only one awake while the rest of the world sleepwalks into a future abyss. The painting is titled Stańczyk, and it traps us in a small, darkened antechamber separated from the festivities by a heavy curtain. The first thing that strikes you is the overwhelming, almost oppressive use of the color red. It is everywhere. The jester is clad in a suit of deep blood-red velvet, a color that usually signifies passion and vitality, but here, in this dim light, it looks more like a fresh wound. The red of his attire vibrates against the darkness of the room, creating a visual tension that makes the figure seem to burn with an internal fever. It is a color that commands attention, demanding that we look at him even as he refuses to look at us. Let us move closer and analyze the face of Stańczyk, for it is one of the most psychologically complex portraits in the history of art. His expression is a study in devastation. The skin is pale, almost sickly, illuminated by a harsh, unforgiving light that leaves no corner for his grief to hide. His eyes are dark, sunken into their sockets, and they stare fixedly at the floor, seeing nothing of the room around him. They are not looking at the physical world. They are looking inward at a moral decay that frightens him more than any army. It is the gaze of a man who sees the rot in the foundation, while the structure still stands tall. Now, follow the line of his body down to his hands. In art, hands often tell the truth that the face tries to conceal, and here the hands are screaming. They are clasped together, not in prayer, but in a spasm of nervous tension that betrays a profound sense of helplessness. You can almost feel the pressure in his fingers, the physical manifestation of a mind racing to find a solution that does not exist. It is the posture of a man who carries the weight of a kingdom on shoulders that were only meant to carry bells. The contrast between the delicate, refined structure of his hands and the brute force of the emotion locking them together is heartbreaking. And then look at the floor. There lies his marotte, the fool's scepter with its little carved face. It has been discarded, thrown down like a dead thing. It lies there in the shadows, a miniature corpse that symbolizes the death of laughter. At this moment, the time for jokes has ended, and the grotesque reality of politics has silenced the comedy. The marotte, usually a symbol of fun and irreverence, is transformed here into a symbol of uselessness. It is a tool of the trade that no longer works, in a world that has become too serious for satire. On the table next to him lies the source of his despair, a letter. It is crumpled, perhaps thrown there in a fit of rage or resignation. It bears the news of the fall of Smolensk. While the 16th century was technically a golden age for the union of Poland and Lithuania, Matejko uses this specific defeat to make a darker point. He does not see this as a mere tactical loss, but as the first symptom of the arrogance and complacency that would, centuries later, destroy the nation completely. The letter is not just a military report, it is a prophecy of the ruin that comes from ignoring reality. But the genius and the controversy of Matejko lies in the background. Look past the heavy red velvet curtain on the right. There, bathed in a warm, golden, almost sickly yellow light, we see the royal ball in full swing. Matejko deliberately distorts history here to sharpen his blade. He depicts the court of Queen Bona Sforza, even though she would not actually arrive in Poland until 4 years later. He places her there as an anachronistic symbol, blaming her Italian influence for the frivolity and corruption he despised. This visual separation is crucial. The warm light represents the comfortable lie of the court, while the cold darkness of the jester's corner represents the unbearable, lonely truth. Finally, look through the window on the left. The view opens up into the night sky, past the silhouette of the Wawel Cathedral. And there, streaking across the darkness, is a comet. This is the Great Comet of 1514. Historically, it appeared months before the battle, but Matejko drags it across the timeline to hang directly over this moment of despair. He uses the comet not as a calendar, but as a cosmic omen of judgment. The jester sees the star and the letter. The royals see only the dance. It is a monstrous alignment of the heavens and the earth, a symbolic compression of time that screams that the universe itself is watching their mistake. This painting forces us to confront a terrifying question about the nature of intelligence and awareness. Is it a gift to see the truth, or is it a curse? Stańczyk is the smartest man in the room, yet he is the only one suffering. The kings and queens are happy because they are blind to the moral decay the artist warns of. In a world obsessed with the present pleasure, perhaps the only thing more painful than the catastrophe itself is being the only one who sees the cracks forming. To what extent is ignorance truly bliss, and is the burden of knowledge a weight that only the lonely can bear? I'll leave the question for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. To what extent is ignorance truly bliss? And if you are one of the few who prefers to see the truth, no matter how dark, I invite you to continue this journey with us. For daily explorations into the shadows of art history, follow Chiarivista on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. There, we unveil the stories that others overlook. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next video.